And welcome back to Joe on Joe. I'm your host, Joe Slepsky, and this week we've got a fantastic surprise for you listeners. We have got a fan of the show as a guest this week. I want to introduce you all to Mr. Ben Hare from Boca Raton, Florida. Ben, welcome to Joe on Joe.
Thanks, Joe. Thanks for having me.
I'm very happy to have you on there. Ben is he's a multimedia specialist from Boca Raton, but you would know him from his YouTube channel called JoeFan82, and it is an action figure review channel. Is this correct, Mr. Ben?
That is correct, sir.
Awesome.
I review mostly G.I. Joe action figures, and a comic or two is snuck in there, but mostly action figures so far.
That's very cool. What started you to get into like the action figure review game?
I've been following other reviewers for a long time, and I just thought one day I could do that, and so I gave it a shot, and I've been doing it for a little over 2 years now.
2 years, fantastic. How often do you post?
Well, that's right now.
3 times. I've posted 3 times in 2 years. So,
my goal is every month to post at least 4 times.
Great.
And this year so far, I've met that goal. Last year, I had a gap of a few months that I didn't post anything, but this year so far, I'm doing pretty good. And today, actually, just crossed over that 900 subscriber threshold. It's going pretty well.
That's fantastic. Congratulations. I'll have to make sure to log on and subscribe to it for sure. Tell me about your review style. What do you do mostly newer figures, older figures? Like, do you do unboxings? What do you do?
I do unboxings.
You do so well.
It's all modern figures. I don't do vintage stuff, although I do have some. I do still have my vintage collection from when I was a kid.
Awesome. If you, by the way, if you did vintage unboxings, people would probably track your IP address to your home and kill you.
Yeah,
I don't. Why are you? They're still in the box. Why are you opening them up now? They've lasted 30 years. Why are you opening them now?
Yeah, I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that on YouTube for that reason.
Oh, now I want to do that as a prank. I want to just start a YouTube channel, just call it Vintage Unboxing, and mock up vintage Star Wars, vintage everything. Done.
Yeah, that would be great.
Don't steal that idea, or steal it and actually do it. So obviously you're not doing vintage unboxing, but you're doing new Joe stuff. So what kind of new Joe stuff do you do? Is it like the 25th anniversary stuff?
Yeah, 25th. I've done some 25th stuff. I did everything. Well, I did a lot of what was released in 2016. And I don't know if you're familiar with the FSS, the figure subscription service.
Yes, I am. Absolutely.
I did all of those figures for this last round that they had. I reviewed all of those. And it's mostly just my hands and the figure in front of the camera, looking at it, checking the articulation and stuff.
You're like Darth Helmet in Spaceballs.
Exactly like that.
Lone Star, how dare you?
My wife comes in and thinks, I told you not to interrupt me. They're not dolls.
They're action figures. Why didn't you tell me my ass was this big? So the action figure service, is it just figures, or do they do vehicles, or what? Tell me, give me a couple examples of some of the stuff that you've reviewed recently.
The subscription service is just figures, but the Collectors Club does make vehicles occasionally.
Mm-hmm.
I haven't reviewed any of those. I reviewed some stuff from the 50th anniversary, like the Sky Striker that came out. I reviewed that, and the reissue of the Cobra Wolf.
Oh, cool.
I did a review on that, but mostly I've done figures so far.
So let's talk a little about this, because I'm not an expert in the current state of the toys. Like I know a lot about the old school toys and watching the show and stuff, but I'm not like knee deep in it. It's like, it sounds like you are. So the current availability for the toys is really only through those collectors, right? They're not mass producing toys as of this recording, right?
As of this recording, they are not producing figures for retail. They announced at JoeCon for the next 2 years minimum, there's not going to be any presence at retail, and they're waiting for there to be a media presence for them to release figures.
Kind of a reason to do it.
Yeah, they said a movie. I thinking if they have an animated series that they would do that
Yeah.
too.
They keep talking about doing that Hasbro shared universe.
Yeah, yeah, and there a year, I think it was a year or two ago, they talked about there was a writer's room with all these
Yes.
big
Yep.
Hollywood types in there, and I heard nothing,
Well,
nothing about what came of
Well,
what
they're
happened
doing
from
it
that.
in a way. They're doing it on the in the comic books for the IDW books. They've got the shared universe going with Rom and the Transformers and all that stuff. Who knows how much of that they'll cross over because it kind of revolves around the Dire Wraiths and Rom,
Hmm.
and that's the
Yeah,
big threat. And Transformers are a threat too, but like we know they're good guys, but the government thinks they're bad guys. But then the Transformers are also fighting the Dire Wraiths and stuff. So I wonder if that Dire Wraith presence is what they're thinking to bring over to the main universe. I hope they do. I really do because I think there's just so much untapped potential there.
and I don't know if they're planning on having Transformers a part of this cinematic universe, and if they are, if they're going to continue with the current
Oh,
Bayform
it's
Bayformer
the
continuity,
sooner
or
they stop the Bayformer movies, the better. They're so painful. They're so hard to watch.
I haven't seen the last night yet.
You're not missing anything. It is the hottest of garbage. It is absolutely terrible. And I say that with a love for the Transformers. It's a terrible, terrible movie. But moving on, let's go into more positive stuff. So, Ben, if our listeners wanted to find your YouTube channel, go to YouTube and look for JoeFan82. They can also find you on Twitter at GIJoeFan82. And on Facebook, you are JoeFan82. And while you're out there, go check me out at Joe on Joe Pod. That's on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. Send me an email to joeonjoepod@gmail.com and reach out just like Ben did, and you too can be a guest on the show and watch an episode together. So, Ben, well, one, did you go to JoeCon? Because that's right in your backyard.
It was, and unfortunately, I wasn't able to make it. It just didn't work out financially this
Okay.
year, unfortunately. But I did meet Larry Hama at a toy show in Fort Lauderdale a few weeks ago, so that made up
Awesome.
for it. Yeah, that was
Awesome. Is he
really
cool?
cool.
Is he as cool as he seems?
Yeah, he was. I mean, I didn't really have a long conversation with him, but
Mm-hmm.
he was really a cool guy.
Oh, that's so cool. He's on my list. I've met like a ton of comic creators just from literally just through the inertia of going to Comic Cons all these years, but I've
Hmm.
never had the opportunity to meet Larry. I did have the opportunity to meet Herb Trimpe like 6 months before he ended up passing away.
Oh wow.
At a local con out here, yeah, and I had the foresight just at the time. I don't even know if I was doing Joe on Joe yet, but to get him to autograph a GI Joe poster, repro poster that he was selling. So I've
Hmm.
got a Herb Trimpe autograph on that, and that's one of my treasures.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got him. I got Hama to sign. What issue was it? 26, I
The
think.
Origin,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so good,
Hmm.
so good, awesome. Well, listen, I think it's time to get going into the episode. Ben, are you ready? Are you excited?
Yes, I am very excited.
Well, we're gonna do it, and let's tease it a little bit. We're watching today. We're watching Gray Hairs and Growing Pains. Now, you previewed this already. It's a little bit of a wacky episode.
It's not not something that I would introduce anyone to GI Joe with.
No, it's not. But it actually repeats a premise that was just a few episodes ago. The one where they stole the faces off the people.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
pretty much the same premise. Except instead of stealing faces, they just literally physically age you, and it turns into like Muppet Babies, like GI Joe
Right.
Muppet Babies.
Right.
Yeah, so it is definitely one of those time-worn comic book traditions where the adults become super old and super young. Usually, a lot of times in the comics, it'll be the kids like Robin and Superboy. They become older, and Superman and Batman become younger, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
But in this case, half the team goes young, half the team goes old, and it's a GI Joe plot show, is what it is. It's a Cobra's got a crazy scheme, and GI Joe's got to get to the bottom of it.
Hmm.
There's fun to be had in it. But you're right. It's not the go-to, man, you got to see. If you really want to know what G.I. Joe's all about, this is the episode kind of episode.
This is if you want to turn your brain off for half an hour.
Yeah. It's definitely fun, though. It's fun. It's got some good voice work in it, for sure. And I like the designs of the old people. So and the kids, too. I like the character designs. They're pretty sweet. So we're going to get into it, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for listening. Ben Hare, we're ready to get it on. And we're going to watch Gray Hairs and Growing Pains. So here we go.
Yo, Joe!
Okay, Ben. So I was thinking about this. So you're a guy who does new new figure unboxing, and you collect a lot of the new figures and stuff. And the
Right,
Holy Grail, we always talk, is the Holy Grail is always the flag, right?
Right.
Do you think, I don't think they have. Do you think they'll ever make a flag, like a new version of the flag?
No, I don't think they'll ever. I think it just costs too much.
Yeah.
And it's hard enough just to get the figures in the stores. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again.
Yeah.
Any big play set like that, unfortunately.
Well, what I want is an enterprising Joe fan who has access to a 3D printer. Right? You see where I'm going with this, right?
I do.
Why couldn't you print all the pieces to a flag and make flags?
I didn't think of that. You're right. That's a great idea.
I don't know anything about 3D printing, but I know that that's something I want. So we start with Gray Hairs and Growing Pains. It's by Dave Marconi and Flint Dilley. You know, Flint Dilley's great. Flint Dilley is an absolute legend in the Joe and Transformer universe. So anything good, I want to. No slight to Dave Marconi, but I feel like Flint Dilley is going to give us anything that we love out of this. Which, by the way, this is something that I love. Is the Joe's on undercover assignment, right?
Undercover, yeah.
That's pretty cool.
And what I love is her outfit. That woman's
Madame Versailles.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's such a look. All of these people have such a look. Like, you've got Madame Versailles with the crazy like shoulder pad flare going on. You've got the chubby old lawyer. I'm assuming he's the lawyer.
Yeah, they never introduce him, but I'm assuming he's the...
Yeah, he talks lawyerly. And then you've got the woman who, you know, as of this moment, we don't know exactly who she is, but you and I know who she is. She's covered up like... she looks like...
Not until she shows me hers. Okay.
An extra in a Beyonce video. You know what I'm saying? Like with like this dark sunglasses, and she's got the bright curly wig on. Everything's super covered up. And now we find out.
Uh-oh.
Boom. Looks out. Oh, no. And someone else is in disguise, too. It's Flint.
And I like how he was wearing his uniform underneath the disguise.
He does. And he felt the need to open the disguise so you could see the uniform, too. And the Dreadnoks are there. Now, this is funny. If you look closely in the pool, all the pool goers are dudes. Right? So, like, Miss Versailles has her boy toys hanging out at the mansion. You know what I mean? That's pretty.
And whatever you do, Dial Tone, don't use a gun.
No.
You want to use the hose.
No, I feel like that should have been Lifeline, Mr. Pacifist, right?
Oh, yeah.
He should have been like, I'm going to use a hose instead of shooting these Dreadnoks in the face.
And that leap she just did off the rock reminded me of the Halle Berry leap in Die Another Day when she just... I don't know if you remember, she just kind of dives off the cliff.
Yeah.
Hey, anything to help old comrades in arms.
Oh, this is cool. Sparks is back. We haven't seen Sparks since early in season 1.
I was wondering. I thought he looked familiar.
Yeah, early in season 1. And what's even cooler is that they reference it. You know, like, hey, it's good to be back, Sparks. I think they finally made an action figure of him a couple years ago, like through that Collectors Club, maybe. So basically, there's a promotional video that Flint and Jay are looking at, and you've got a Hollywood starlet and a football star, and they're proclaiming that the Madame Versailles youth treatment is just the bee's knees. It's just the way to go. Now, Ben, you're a couple years younger than me, but what they're tapping into here is
what do they hope to gain
everything
from all
that the
this?
1980s was obsessed with.
Right?
Fitness, workout, don't age. You know, everything was how to stop the aging process. Plastic surgery was becoming a commonplace. You know, like it had existed, but it was now everyone was getting it done. So they're tapping into that for real in this episode, which is a little odd. Like I feel like there was not enough communication in the writer's room because they essentially did this 3 episodes ago. With the face swapping episode.
Yeah,
right?
It's pretty much the same plot.
Totally same plot with Low Light Sister.
I love this part right here. Every Joe comes in a different vehicle.
Yeah, it's so great. Oh, look
They
at
could have all
those
come
dudes.
in They could have all come in the Tomahawk, but no, they need to come in their own separate.
100% they could have come in a Tomahawk. Oh, we even got a rope. Geez, this is crazy. It's so funny. And it's not like they're meeting there separately because they're undercover.
What, Flint?
No, they're just
Like, Flint talks about being conspicuous. What? Come on, people.
but they're all dressed.
Yeah, they're dressed
They're all
like,
out in public on.
yeah, like if you saw any of these people walking down the street, you would call the police. They all have weapons strapped to them. That's so great. But I love the roster, though. Dial Tone, Mainframe, Gung Ho, which is, we love Gung Ho on this show, and I love seeing, them using one of the veterans in a main role. Mm-hmm. Sci-Fi. Did you have? So let's talk figures. What did you grow up with? Like, what did you have a lot when you were a kid?
I had a decent amount from '88 and on. So I never had any of the core. I never had like Zartan or I never had Sci-Fi. Mm-hmm. Never had Gung Ho.
Who did you have?
I had sort of the second and third versions of those.
Okay.
Like Duke version 2 or 3, Mindbender version 2.
That's cool.
Figures.
If you really want to find out what commercials I've
Did you have
done,
mostly
you should contact
the
my
figures,
manager.
or did you have a lot of the play sets and like vehicles, or what was your and who was your jam? Like, who was your one figure that you just loved?
Believe it or not, Scoop was my main.
Scoop.
He was the
with the video camera, right?
I didn't really use him with the video camera. All he had was a handgun, and he was the John McClane of my Joe universe. He was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Oh, that's hilarious!
And he always ended up saving the day.
That's absolutely hilarious. You
With his yellow
just
pants.
played Die Hard all the time.
Yeah,
You just played
pretty
Die
much.
Hard. That's fantastic. Duke and I think it was Sci-Fi or Dial. Yeah, Duke and Sci-Fi. They're about to get trampled by some elephants. They went to visit the actress on her set, and she's trying to get them killed because she doesn't want them sniffing around their stuff. Do you have any of the figures from when you were a kid?
I have most of all of the original figures that I had. My brother, I have a brother 2.5 years
You better
younger.
not have taken them because we're going in a commercial. We'll be right back. Today's Filecard feature is on a member of the Cobra-La team, Nemesis Enforcer. They say in Cobra-La that Golobulus raised the Nemesis Enforcer from a pile of dead things, and that where his soul should be, there is nothing but emptiness. His leather wings have beat across the night skies since before the Ice Age, as he tirelessly carried out the dark will of his master and creator. Fleeting glimpses of his sinister form gave rise to legends of vampires, harpies, and countless other things that go bump in the night. Quote, he can glide silently and land without a sound. He is the other presence in the pitch-black room. He is the lurker in the dark, just outside your bedroom window. He rattles the garbage cans and makes your floors creak. He is the dread that stands behind you in the dark and dares you to turn and face him. So much can be said about Nemesis Enforcer. Where to start? He made his cartoon appearance in the G.I. Joe movie as part of the Cobra-La team, as stated earlier on the file card. And he made his toy appearance in a 3-pack along with Golobulus and the Cobra-La Royal Guard. Nemesis Enforcer is best known for having giant bat wings and huge claws that come out the opposite side of his forearms. In the movie, he is a genuine bad mofo. For real. He clocks everybody. Eventually, Sergeant Slaughter gets the best of him because the good guys always have to win. But I'm telling you, I think Nemesis Enforcer lived to fight another day. We just never saw that adventure. Now, he's wearing a bright purple and red outfit, which doesn't really scream tough guy. However, there's that theory of when you're that tough, it doesn't matter what you wear, because who's going to tell you that you look silly, right? So, Nemesis Enforcer, our friend C.E. Joe's favorite Cobra of all time, we salute you. Cobra, la 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 la.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
So, did your brother take them on you, or what did he do with them?
No, I absconded with them all. I have them, most of them still.
Excellent.
So,
Excellent. So Flint and Sci-Fi, they survive by escaping in a well-placed hay-filled truck.
These'll brighten up their day.
But because they're heroes, they now also have to stop the elephants. They're not just worried about saving their own bacon. They have to stop some rampaging elephants as they cut through the rest of this Hollywood backlot.
Part of this, feel like part of the blame for this falls on the studio. They only had one guy watching these 3 giant
Right?
elephants.
That's totally one of those, like, no animals were harmed during this filming violations.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for real. You definitely need more. And now Flint's just gonna grenade them. It's like the opening half of King Kong. Let's just throw a bunch of gas bombs at the giant ape and knock him out. Here's a weird out of nowhere question. Have you ever like ridden an elephant or anything?
Actually, I think I have at a zoo. I think I did when I was a kid.
I did too when I was a kid at a not a zoo. What do you call those? With the circus at a circus. I totally rode an elephant.
Yeah, it might have been a circus for me too. It's hard to remember, but I'm pretty sure that I rode one at some point.
Totally rode an elephant. I just remember that. Ben, you're bringing back all these memories. That's what the show is great for.
My elephant was much better behaved than these in this show.
Sure, of course. My elephant, I think, if I recall, because I was always fascinated with everything Indiana Jones. I just wanted to dump perfume on him, like in Temple of Doom, and I didn't have any perfume. I was very upset. So now we cut to the rest of the team is going to visit the football player guy that was in the promo video. We got Dial Tone and Mainframe.
Tinker sure can kick a football.
And this is like that scene out of, was it Cannonball Run? When Burt Reynolds, or was it Smokey and the Bandit 2 when Burt Reynolds went to visit the football players?
Oh, I didn't see that one.
I'll tell you what. Wait right here and I'll have
But is that pretty much the same thing?
Yeah, it's just like that. You know, it was always that, all right, we're going to go to a real football player to get a cameo on the show, and then, and then it's always awkward. And he just says something witty to the camera. That's basically what we're getting here.
Get my drift.
So
and they don't ask him why he's mad at these guys.
No. You listen, a football team is a tightly knit group of friends. If your quarterback says, I want you to go beat the crap out of that guy, then guess what? Your job is to go beat the crap out of that guy. That's it. That's it. Although Mainframe showed some good hands.
I like how he just, I'm going to toss it to Dial Tone.
That's fantastic. And Dial Tone gets clobbered. But it didn't look like he fumbled.
No serious
I'm
injuries.
going to say,
You
didn't
guys
look like he
were
fumbled.
lucky.
Yeah, we received violent reactions.
So when did you,
Well,
when
I
did you
learned
start, like, as an adult, get back into collecting the toys? Like, or is it something you never really put down?
No, yeah, I stopped pretty much when the line ended. It was the same time that I stopped playing with toys in general.
Sure.
And then I picked it up again a little bit in the 25th anniversary, 2007. And then it was kind of on and off. And then a couple years ago, I just started back in again.
And if you were to give recommendations for any listeners they wanted to start collecting again, besides, because I look on Amazon a little bit, you can always find stuff on Amazon, but where's the best places to find this stuff?
I mean, Amazon is one place, but you might be able to find better deals on eBay if you look in the right at the right sellers.
And what kind of search terms should they go for? Obviously G.I. Joe, but is there a trick search term or a special, is there a special search that you use to find the better dealers?
No. I look for just the experienced ones that have a lot of history with. They're selling other GI Joes, not just one guy selling a lot of broken stuff.
Real quick, pay attention to that Viper that just left the room. The guy that set the timer for these rooms. We're going to revisit him later, and I got a theory on that guy. The reason I ask about the search terms is, for me, where I mainly buy on eBay, I'm mainly buying comic books. One of the tricks that I've always used is looking for complete runs of stuff, because you tend to overbuy a little bit in product, but you end up getting, if that run includes a couple issues that you really want that may be a little more expensive, you tend to pay less for that issue.
Yeah, if you're buying loose or even carded figures, you buy a lot.
Yep.
You might find those one or two gems that you're looking for, and then you can sell off the rest that you don't want.
Totally. Yeah, exactly right. Even at a discount, and you end up getting a lot of your money back. I got that's how I got a first appearance of Hellboy from John Byrne's Next Men, because it was part of a lot, and I don't think it just was just sitting there as a quick buy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And it was great because I was able to get my first Hellboy, but like but I also got another 40 issues of John Byrne's X-Men, but then I just unload those. You know, you turn around, you flip those, and you sell them for a discount, but you get a couple bucks back. So yeah, so that's a good tip if anyone's out there. So as we were chatting, they all got transmogrified.
Who is it? Flint, Gung Ho.
Yeah, Flint, Gung Ho, and I think Sci-Fi got aged to be 90 years old, and they can't even open a door. That's how old and weak they are. And Lady J, and I guess it'd be, so you see that guy in the Viper uniform? We're going into commercial, and I got a theory. You may know where I'm going with this. Hey gang, loyal Joe and Joe listeners know that we love Wildcat Wrestling here. Our friend of the show and frequent guest, Pablo Romero Estevez, he helps run the New Orleans premier and original wrestling promotion, Wildcat Wrestling. It's where wrestlers come from across the globe to compete in the squared circle. And the best part about Wildcat is that if you're not in New Orleans, you can stream them online. Just go to wildcattv.wildcatwrestling.com. That's cat with a K. And use the promo code JoeOnJoe. This will get you a free month to Wildcat TV, where you go to watch commercial-free and extended episodes of New Orleans wrestling. New episodes drop every Monday, and this is the place to get up close and personal with wrestlers like the Southern Stomper Luke Hawx, Stevie Richards, Bob Hardcore Holly, Ray Horace, and Boo Koo Dow, and many, many more. And after your first month, it's just $4.99 per month for all the Cajun calamity you can handle. So go to wildcattv.wildcatwrestling.com, enter Joe on Joe, that's one word, no spaces, and start your subscription today. Because if it ain't Wildcat, it ain't wrestling.
Now back to G.I. Joe.
That guy in the Viper uniform with the buzz cut looks just like Mercer.
Well, Mercer had black or brown hair, didn't he?
He did in the cartoon, but look at his file card. He's got blonde hair on his file card.
Oh.
Now, I'm not saying it's Mercer, because I don't think they call him that. But yeah. I'm saying it's Mercer. Like, I'm going to, you know what I mean? Like, in my little head canon, that's Mercer.
I don't think they've ever shown another Viper without his helmet on.
Exactly. And he looks, the hair color is different. But, he could change your hair color. And the card, I looked it up. The card is blonde, even though the figure came out, the figure had brown hair. And I think in the cartoon he had brown hair. But the card is blonde. So I'm going on record. I'm going to say this is the first appearance of Mercer, everybody. And maybe he was so offended that they aged these children, and that they aged the Joes so much. He's like, I can't be a part of this organization.
You might be right, because if we keep watching, we'll see him do something that I think will play into that.
Mm-hmm. So keep that in mind, ladies and gentlemen, as you watch this. It's the origin of Mercer. So, Ben, it's that time. I love asking my guests, if you were a member of G.I. Joe or Cobra, what team would you be on? What would your specialty be? And then what would your name be? Real quick, before we get to that, let's visit this for a quick second. They've established we're in Beverly Hills. This lady police officer is straight out of, like, New York. She's all Irish. She's all, hey, who are you being? I live a block from Beverly Hills. There's no cops like that here.
And they all just turn around and leave, and Mercer disappears.
Mercer just disappears.
He doesn't take them in.
Yeah,
so.
He took pity on him.
Yeah.
But there are no Irish beat cops walking the mean streets of Beverly Hills. I'm just going to say that, because they absolutely established that this health clinic was in Beverly Hills. Anyway, back to you, Ben. What have you thought about it? What your specialty and stuff would be?
Yeah, I would be a mechanic. And I would be the lowest level Joe that you could be and still get a code name. I would be just above the green shirts.
Really?
Yeah. And I would be the guy, if I was in the Sunbow cartoon, I would be the guy that if Cobra attacked the headquarters, everybody else would be taken captive, but I would still be free.
Okay.
Just sort of like John McClane, and I would John McClane my way.
Back to Die Hard for you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And my code name would be Fix-It. Fixit.
I love it. Fix It. And you're the nameless mechanic. Not nameless, but you're the nondescript mechanic.
Mm-hmm.
Just joined the team, or is it that you've just joined, or have you been on it forever? You just haven't moved up.
I don't want to move up. I like where I am.
You like working in the motor pool, the Fort Wadsworth motor pool from the comics.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I love it. Are you like, you got to be like best friends with Clutch and Steeler, right?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
All the dudes that hung out in the motor pool, all the green shirt guys from the first season, they're your best buddies.
Oh, yeah. Hang out with them.
And you go out and you go Die Hard style.
Yeah. And every once in a while, I might get called out into the field, but reluctantly. And I go and I end up saving the day somehow.
That's fantastic. I love it. Fix it. Perfect. So back to the show. Lady J has not lost any of her guile. And they ran into a very old lady on the street. And the very old lady was the actress that they were talking to earlier. So basically, Cobra let her grow old.
Strategy, oh great Serpentor.
Cobra has a giant oil refinery for this whole age thing. That seems like a lot of infrastructure for this.
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I was thinking about that. That's a lot of planning went into this.
Yeah, this is pretty funny though. Flint is just playing up the fact that he's an old man now, and he's pretending to be all their grandpa.
And the worst security guard in the world.
The worst security guard. Even if they're an old... I'd be like, old man, pee yourself.
I don't want to lose my job.
Yeah, why is this guy letting him in the oil refinery?
What kind of security is this? Arrest the main
Kudos to Serpentor. Serpentor does not let that go. He's like, yeah, arrest the guard, get the van.
I think Cobra Commander would have let it slide, but Serpentor, he's on top of it.
Totally. You know what? The guard was probably Cobra Commander. At this point, he's probably demoted. And now the Joe kids are skateboarding. The old guys are shooting slime, paint.
This reminds me of the A-Team episode. It was one of the later episodes called The Gray Team, where they were at a nursing home. And the residents helped them defeat the bad guys.
Ben, you just won my heart. I love the A-Team, and I know the episode you're talking about. That's fantastic. That's so great. And you're right, it totally does. Yeah, that's fantastic. Liz, here's my thing about the A-Team. I love how difficult it was to get a hold of them. Because let's go through it real quick. First, you had to have a problem, right? Then no one else could help. So you had to exhaust all opportunities. Like, you had to go to the police, you had to go to the FBI, you had to go to your friends and family, and everyone had to be like, I can't help you. So if you have a problem, no one else can help. Then you had to try to track them down in the LA Underground, right? Usually through the newspaper thing.
They don't have email.
No
There's
email.
No internet.
No email. So you had to try to track them down through the LA Underground, whatever that means. I live here and I've yet to see evidence of the LA Underground. But if you're able to then track them down, maybe, in the words of the show, maybe they'll help you.
Well, they're busy guys.
Maybe.
Yeah.
There were so many hoops you had to jump through to hire the A-Team. It's fantastic. It's fantastic. It's not like they'll absolutely help you when you're in trouble. No. They might not help you.
If they feel like it on that particular day.
If it's a Tuesday, maybe they'll help you. But if it's a Wednesday, you're out of luck. Wednesday's a bad day for Murdoch. So the Cobras, including our friend Mercer, they've caught the Joes, except for they're now getting threatened. Is that the football player, right?
The guy up on him?
Yeah.
That's Mainframe.
Oh, how did he get back to being regular age? I got so caught up in talking 18.
Zarana.
Oh, right, because she has the crush on him. Totally. Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah, this is great because
we made a slight miscalculation.
Here we go. Lady J has no pants.
I think I've grown a little too
big for my
Oh, that's so cute. Lady J rolling no pants. That's a bold statement for G.I. Joe.
Every episode should end like that.
Well, we're talking to Bill Radimer. He always said his favorite was when the episode when Flint was applying suntan lotion to Lady J. He was always like, it was so scandalous. I couldn't handle it. So what did you think? What did you think of the episode? Or should I say, fix it?
It was okay. It had some pretty silly elements, but it was still a decent Joe episode. The animation I thought was all right, was decent.
Yeah, I do love the character models. I think the character models are really strong on it. Getting old and getting younger. I really enjoyed the personalities in it, like the character work. The relationships with getting the mainframe and Zorana stuff.
Having that continuity continue.
Yes, yeah. Having Flint play the old man. Minus points, I guess, for the fact that they just did this concept a few episodes earlier. I wish they.
Yeah.
And I know they didn't air back to back, but even then, it's the same season. You're doing the same idea, so that's always a little. It's always a little less. And this didn't have that grotesquerie element that the other one did of like losing the face entirely, which was like shocking and gross. But overall, it's fun. It's fun. It's nothing to write home about. It's fun. It advances around a mainframe relationship, which is great. I don't know why they need a giant oil rig refinery for the age swapping factory, but
and they never showed what happened to that actress, if they were able to correct her age, if they turned her young again or not, if she's still out there.
Well, isn't the deal, and maybe we should have been watching a little closer. Whatever. But isn't the deal that she actually was a little older? Maybe not that old, but she was a little older. And she was just able to retain her youth from doing all these processes. So she might have actually just kind of aged naturally.
There's so many layers to the episode.
There's so many layers. They definitely tapped into the zeitgeist. Like this was, this is my era. That was everything that people talked about. Exercise, Richard Simmons get fit. The whole
the Thigh Master.
Thigh Master, exactly. That's exactly what I was thinking about. That was just a huge part of the 80s. So I totally see why they adventured into this territory. So I'm down with it. Gray hairs and growing pains. I'm down with you, Ben Hare. Thank you for being a guest on Joe on Joe.
Thank you, sir. It's an honor and a privilege.
Oh, man, it's really my pleasure to have you. And remember, you can always find his action figure reviews on YouTube at JoeFan82. Find him on Twitter at GIJoeFan82. And on Facebook, JoeFan82. Reach out and say hi. Tell him you heard him on Joe, and help grow his listenership as you do mine. So thank you, Ben, from the lovely Boca Raton.
Thank you, sir.
And now you, Joe, and Joeing is half the battle.